becoming and beholding, it's this principle that what we behold, we become like. So when we are beholding beauty, beholding specifically like God's character through that, experiencing, engaging with it, like that practice actually sows into us and making us more like Christ.
Yeah.
If Christ also, like God, is beauty and his essence is expressed through all of creation, then as we create and observe and enjoy, engage, that is sowing into how we become more of beauty.
Welcome back to the Rooted Minds podcast, where we come together as a family to talk about books and our emotions. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about this book, Beholding and Becoming by Ruth Chou Simons. And Alyssa's going to lead us.
And I am so excited to talk about this book. It has been a favorite of mine when I come back and read, and have loved over the past few years. So today I really want to talk about cultivating beauty in our daily life. So this book is really tied to beauty and worship and everything in between, which is so beautiful. It's so poetic, and the illustrations she did herself, they're watercolor. They're so beautiful. This book is an artwork in itself. But to start, I wanted to talk about kind of and define beauty. What is it? What does the world say it is? Biblically, what is beauty? And kind of just talk about that for a minute.
What a big question.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Wow, what is beauty?
What is beauty? I think there's no like one answer to what is beauty, because beauty is something that defines God, and God is so infinite. I think there's like a million ways that we can discover what is something that's beautiful, and so I think part of our journey as human beings is the process of discovering what is beauty.
Wow. Yeah.
So that's my answer to what.
That was a very poetic answer.
So it's not just beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but it's the idea that because it does reflects an aspect of God.
Yeah.
That there can be so many iterations of that.
Yeah, that's really good.
It's kind of like goodness. We only know what goodness is because goodness is defined by God, and so I feel like it's the same with beauty, right? Like beauty is defined by God, and so.
Do you think there's also like truth to what people say is like something is also defined by what the opposite is? So like like with goodness, like you can help understand what goodness is by knowing what the opposite is, and like you can understand more of what beauty is maybe by knowing what the opposite is.
True. And I think that definition of what the opposite is important, because you can say the ugliness, but what is ugly? And does that become subjective, like something personal to you, or is it something that is black and white?
I was thinking of beauty is related to what Andy was saying, things that are according to God's design. Because God always creates according to who he is, like in his own, purposes and the design that he put into it. And so it's like when you discover something that's according to his design, I call that beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's fun to help. It does help to see when I'm looking at something, I'm like, that doesn't seem right. Like that doesn't seem to fit according to how God designed that thing. And that helps me understand what the beautiful thing is in it that God designed in, even though it's not that way at the moment.
Well, in the classical world, like truth, goodness, and beauty are the three transcendental ideas. And those are something that like lift you higher. Like it takes you out of the mundane into something bigger than yourself. And so beauty can be something that like that elevates your thoughts or elevates your emotions or something like that.
That's exactly where I was going with this. Is beauty and worship, the connection there. And that's so good that you pointed out how it takes you above the mundane. I think like beauty connected to worship, the art of everyday worship is kind of what this book, its topic centers around.
Yeah, everyday worship.
But beauty, it's rising above, it takes your thoughts above the mundane. And I think our response to beauty is worship. And when it comes to things that express God, beauty is an expression of God.
That's
it's
so
like
good.
this direct pathway towards worshiping Him. It's not the thing itself.
Yes.
It's Him, His character in it.
Yes.
And I think understanding that is key to practicing this everyday worship, but also cultivating like your own recognition of beauty in your everyday life.
I agree. That seems to be a skill.
Right, yeah, because it's something you have to develop over time and practice. So what are some things in our everyday life that may not be like a visual thing, like, but still is beautiful, that we could notice in a normal day?
A moment of quiet.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
That's good.
That is good.
Or maybe just like time with friends or family. That's beautiful.
Absolutely.
Like I always think about when we go out to the lake or something and it's like calm and while the scenery is beautiful, like the weather
Right.
is not something you see, but it definitely changes your ability to appreciate
Yeah.
the environment. If it's too hot or if there's bugs everywhere, or if it's raining, or if it's freezing, like you're experiencing that same view in a very different way.
Right. So what were you going to say?
Well, on a sort of a separate, not tangent, but just a different kind of thing. Sometimes you find ideas that are beautiful, where it's as intricate as a beautiful painting, and as well, crafted as, something like that too. It's a good story because idea when you understand it in maybe a new way, or just in a little more of its fullness, even the concept itself of beauty, is being transcendental, is something that you can't fully grasp.
Yeah.
But there's so much there, and it's rich and it's intricate and it's from the Lord, and it just, the concept itself, the idea, I think, is also beautiful.
Yeah. And I think one of the foundational things to this practice is the art of noticing first. Being able to observe what things you do connect to as beautiful.
Yeah.
Because if it's true that the things that express God or His truths are beautiful, then there's a lot of those things. And it's real that we connect to some and don't connect to others.
Yeah.
That's okay, but it doesn't change the truth of what beauty is itself.
Yeah.
And having this mindset of noticing throughout your day, like with family or friends or thoughts, or like the way weather or an environment impacts how you experience a moment, all becomes this foundation of, I'd call it like a worldview of beauty. Like my worldview is that beauty exists, and because God exists, and that it's there to be found. I always go back to the verse in Proverbs, which I wish I knew the reference to, but it says, it's the glory of kings to search out a matter, and the glory of God to conceal a matter. So it's God's glory to conceal these like little pockets of beauty in our lives, and it's our glory as kings and priests to discover it. And I think for me, like whenever I have this mindset of noticing beauty, looking for it, valuing it, then I start to engage with it. And for me, I love to paint, and I love to pick colors that I find beautiful. And sometimes it doesn't matter as much what I'm painting, like the subject, but I like to engage with just honoring God for his creation of color and engaging with it and enjoying it. And then in whatever subject matter I'm painting, you know, there's an aspect of what is true and beautiful about this that I can engage with. And so for me, this is worshiping God and his character by noticing something that he has done, something about him, who he is, and calling it beautiful. It's like agreeing with him, and that agreement of him becomes worship. Wow. And so that's like a thing I find, that beauty and engaging with that leads me towards worship. But what are some other ways?
Yeah, I was just thinking about photography has done that for me in a lot of ways, because it limits the scope, but I'm also like actively seeking it. Yeah. Like you're not just taking pictures of whatever, but you're saying, what is beautiful here? And it can be the tiniest flower that all of a sudden when you zoom in on this, you create this composition, it becomes like, wow, the intricacy and detail of this tiny little thing that somebody might have called a weed also has this whole other layer of beauty into it.
Yeah. So that's so good.
Yeah. And I've spent some time, I enjoy going out in the mornings and tending to our little plants and things that we have. Maybe it's weeding also, but what I'm thinking about is that it gets me up close to it. When I'm further away, I see it differently than it's like I see its parts when I'm close, and I understand a little better like all the parts of the parts. Like it's so intricate. And like you just look at a flower and you start looking at it, and then you look at it some more and you're like, wow, how are you that way? And it just brings up this awe. Yeah. How are you still standing? I know, through all the storms and all the things.
Yeah.
And so I've enjoyed getting up close and personal kind of.
Yeah.
So even though I get pricked by thorns once in a while, it's okay. It's like it brings up a lot of awe in me to do it that way.
And that is so good. And it goes back to just this title, Becoming and Beholding. It's this principle that what we behold, we become like. So when we are beholding beauty, beholding specifically like God's character through that, experiencing, engaging with it, like that practice actually sows into us and making us more like Christ. Yeah. If Christ also, like God, is beauty and his essence is expressed through all of creation, then as we create and observe and enjoy, engage, that is sowing into how we become more of beauty. Yeah.
If I could just add to one other thing that I was thinking about, because you talked about how important it is to observe and be intentional about observing. Well, sometimes I catch myself so busy, like so moving around so much, like not stopping kind of. Like I don't realize how kind of spun up my inward self is, you know? And so just like being diligent to try to take some moments to slow down, you know, it seems really important to be able to observe. Yeah. It's kind of like, you know, the analogy of when you're driving and you're going, you know, 65 miles an hour or whatever, your field of view shrinks because you can't possibly see everything at that speed. Yeah. Right? But if you slow down to, let's say, a walk, you know, 3 miles an hour or whatever it is, then your field of view is tremendously opened and widened because you slowed down. And I think that's so important for me to know how to slow down and then observe.
That's really interesting, because I've been thinking about, we never got back to the question of the world's definition of beauty. Right. And I was just thinking that, like, the world's definition of beauty is very, like, limited. It puts it into a box of a certain age, a certain skin tone or complexion or, you know, hairstyle or fit check, you know, like what trend is on is all very limited. Yeah. Which is like that 65 mile an hour view. Yeah. Right. But the looking at beauty through the lens of the Lord it becomes so much more expansive.
That's
Because
well
you can
put.
have a beautiful 90-year-old woman that is, you
So
know,
true.
full of wrinkles and wearing, you know, the same house dress that she's worn for 30 years.
Yeah.
You know, like expressing wisdom and truth and kindness
Yeah.
and
That's
characters,
beautiful.
qualities of the Lord, that you just go, wow, she is incredible. Like, look at how beautiful she is. She smiles and your just heart is full.
That's
I think
so good.
even like in like the opposite spectrum, it's like little kids. You know, it's like you can see so much beauty there of like how they are so good at wonder and seeing things in a very pure and like what you're talking about of like looking at things and seeing beauty. Like, it's part of what I think makes kids so curious is because they're looking, you know.
Which is so good. And both with your examples of this 90-year-old woman and little kids, there's a lot of things that may seem ordinary and things that may seem imperfect. And I think with God's lens of beauty, we have this grace for the things that might not fit our aesthetic, or our expectations or our hopes. Like sometimes we have these limited mindsets in our small-mindedness that holds us back from really engaging with this wonderful experience of engaging with beauty.
Being changed by beauty.
Yes.
Allowing beauty to transform us.
Yeah.
Because it's really interesting, you know, in talking about like the world's perspective of beauty and like the limitation of it is just that it's like surface level and it's also not lasting.
Yeah.
You know, but the things that we find that are true of God's beauty are eternal. You know, these are things that, you know, it reminds me of Ecclesiastes where it talks about how he's put eternity in our hearts. And so it's like he's allowed us as human beings to have the capacity to see things that are eternal and to be changed by those things.
Yeah.
And, you know, in part of that passage, it says he makes everything beautiful in its time. And that's part of the learning the ability and the capacity to be able to see the eternal nature of what's happening. And like, that's what you said about like, you know, a sweet old lady and her smile, you know, so that changes something in you, you know? And so there's like some things that feel like they are lasting, but when in reality they're eternal, like a smile that might go away after a minute, or a tulip that blooms for, you know, a very short amount of time and then goes away.
Right.
But it's not the like time boundness of that.
That's good.
That, you know, there's something eternal about it.
Leaves an imprint.
Yeah.
And lasts.
And I think all of this, like if we're speaking practically, it can impact our daily lives and, you know, having more grace for the people we interact with, or seeing God in more than just, in a more expansive way, in his character and his truth in what he's created. But I think also this practice of beholding and becoming, noticing, having awareness of beauty, changes how we approach books, and specifically the Bible. Because the Bible was written and designed for us to be transformed by it.
Yeah.
To read it, to behold it, and then to become like Jesus Christ, the living Word.
Wow.
And that is like supernatural. It is incredible. And I think there's flavors of that in the way we read books too.
That's good.
And notice characters and stories and learn from people. As we put our focus on something, we really become like what we focus on.
Yeah. The intersection in a book and many things, really almost anything probably, is that the intersection of all those transcendentals are part of what make it so meaningful. You know, with a book, you're looking at things that are true and good and beautiful.
Yeah.
And they all sort of converge and have this lasting impact on your heart that makes you want to be that, and you want to move towards that be changed, allow yourself to be changed by it. And you know, as we talk about books and even other things too, I mean, just helps practicing looking for beauty outside and in books and in ideas or whatever is also practice to see beauty in one another.
It's so good.
As well. So instead of, you know, allowing ourselves to only see negative things about people, you know, to deliberately like start off with just, I'm so grateful for you, you know, and suddenly you're like, wow, you're also beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that is simple, you know.
True.
But you know, it's like it does take practice. It really
does.
And
this practice of beauty, cultivating it in your daily life, just flows into so many different areas of your life and benefits for you and your faith. And we could talk about this. This is my favorite topic. I could talk about it forever. But we highly, highly recommend this book. It's a favorite of ours. But yeah, what is a way that you see beauty in your daily life and something that might not often be defined as like a beautiful thing?
Yeah, let us know in the comments, and we'll see you next time. Thank you again for joining us on the Rooted Minds podcast. I hope you found our discussion today insightful and also fruitful in our mission to become more like Jesus. Until next time, may you find joy, grace, and peace in the pages you turn.